Hi there, I'm Nancy Nash with Starfish Strength. I am always looking for ways to make my favorite recipes healthy. Today, I want to share a recipe with you for a 2-ingredient sweet potato casserole. So for today's recipe, we're just going to use sweet potatoes and marshmallows. So I'm going to use 4 to 5 medium to large sweet potatoes. I really like the taste of marshmallows, but I do not love all of the sugar. So I'm actually going to use the Max Mallow Classic Vanilla 3.4 ounce bag. And I have found that these brown really nicely. If you're more traditional, you could use the traditional marshmallows. We're still going to save you a lot of sugar just roasting the sweet potatoes. For comparison's sake, I am going to throw a couple traditional marshmallows on my casserole. So start by setting your oven on 375 so it can preheat. And then we're actually going to roast our sweet potatoes with the skins on. So next, I want to make sure that I wash and dry them thoroughly. And you don't have to trim off the ends, but I do recommend taking off any sort of stringy ends or eyes coming off the sweet potatoes. Make sure you remove those because they might kind of make this bitter as the sweet potatoes roast. So next, I'm going to take a baking sheet and line it with parchment paper. And I'm going to wrap each of my sweet potatoes in aluminum foil. And I want to make sure that I've got everything covered on the sweet potato, so no big holes or gaps. So once you've arranged your wrapped sweet potatoes on your baking sheet, we're going to stick this in the oven and it's going to roast for about an hour and a half. And I say about because sweet potatoes aren't always the same size. So make sure that you're checking them frequently. I would check them at about 40 minutes with a fork. If you have some very small ones, they might be done at that point. If you have some very large ones, they might need to be turned around and they might need the full hour and a half. Once all of your sweet potatoes are done, go ahead and turn the oven off, and then we're going to let them cool on the stovetop for about 20 minutes. They're still going to stay pretty warm in the foil. So I'll know all of my sweet potatoes are done when I can poke a fork into them and the fork comes out clean. That would be fork tender. So to save us some dishes, I'm actually going to put the sweet potatoes right into my mixing bowl that I'll be mashing them in. And then I'm just going to pull the skins back, pull them off with a fork. And actually the sweet potatoes slide out of the skins really, really easily when they're roasted, when they're done like this. Now, I was a kid that really liked to cook, so I always talk about like, oh, if you're cooking with a kid, this is the kid job. If you're cooking with a kid, this is probably the kid job. The mashing part maybe is arguably more fun than this, but I think this is pretty fun. So you might have noticed that some of the sugar has actually come out and sort of crystallized from the sweet potatoes onto the aluminum foil. So I'm going to leave that out of the recipe. But if you are a big sweet potato fan, I will say this is good to eat. It's like sweet potato candy. So I'm kind of doing a combination of using the fork and using my hands. We are going to bake this again. So I think this is a hands-on project, but do what you're comfortable with. And while you don't have to use parchment paper for this recipe, the reason I recommended it is that it makes the cleanup so much easier. And around the holidays, I want cleanup to be as easy as possible. I don't know about you. And even though I'm pushing this as a holiday dish, I think roasted sweet potatoes taste great year-round. All right, so once we've done away with all the skins and stems, I'm just going to pick this apart a little bit more with my fork before we mash it. All right, so now we've got all of our sweet potatoes separated from the skin. So now we're going to do our mashing. So I did let this cool for about 20 minutes, but you can see with the steam coming off of it, it's still pretty warm. I do recommend doing this one. It's fairly warm. You want to be able to handle the sweet potatoes, but you also want to make sure that they mash nice and smooth. So they do need to be a little hot for that. And then if you like a really smooth consistency, you could take an electric mixer to this. I'm not going to bother with that today, but it really comes out very, very nice that way too. All right, so everything is pretty much the same consistency, all smashed together. Now, if you have not roasted sweet potatoes and you usually make this by boiling them and then adding sugar and butter, I'm gonna tell you to try this just like this and see what you think. In my opinion, it tastes like they have sugar added, and I wish I had learned about roasting them long ago. I don't find that I need to add more sugar to this. If you did want to add a little bit of sugar, now would be the time to do that. But if this tastes as good to you as it does to me, then all we need to do is put it in a pan and add our marshmallows. So you want to make sure that your oven is preheated to 400. So I'm just going to use a 9x9 baking dish. And because we didn't add any butter to this, I'm just going to coat it with nonstick spray. That'll help the marshmallows not stick to the edges too. And then we're just going to add all of our sweet potato mash into our casserole. And then using my spatula, I'm just going to smooth everything out. So you can see that even though I just use a potato masher and I didn't actually use the electric mixer, this does come out pretty smooth when you roast them. All right, so just trying to get a nice even layer here. And then if you've got a 4-year-old, this is a good time for somebody to draw a smiley face in the mashed potatoes. So this is a recipe. You could cook the sweet potatoes and then refrigerate. And then a couple days later, you could reheat it and put the marshmallows on top. And it will still taste great. I would probably heat it on 350, maybe for 30 minutes or so. And make sure that the sweet potatoes seem heated through. And then when you're ready for your marshmallows, you want to preheat your oven to 400. Now I'm giving the marshmallows space from one another, and I do recommend that. I'll insert a picture of the time that I did not do that, and it became a volcano of marshmallow, which is very entertaining if you're a kid, but a little bit dangerous if you're an adult. So I used my Max Mallow bag, and I'm just going to add a couple traditional marshmallows just so we can see how they brown differently. And then just check on it frequently, but usually it takes 20 minutes or so for the marshmallows to just brown on the top. Now, it kind of depends on what marshmallows you're using. So if you are using the Max Mallows like I am, I did find that it takes just a little bit longer for them to brown than traditional marshmallows because of the sugar. So I'll know this is done when the top is golden and the marshmallows look slightly melted, which they do. So the biggest difference I notice right out the gate is that the two jet puff marshmallows look a little bit puffier, but everything browned and melted beautifully. So let's give it a taste. So here's my sweet potato casserole with the Max Mallow. If you're a sweet potato or a pumpkin lover, this is definitely worth trying. Super easy, super delicious. I think this is a dessert, but it can also be a side dish, right? So I love that the Max Mallows have that great vanilla flavor, and they do taste like marshmallow as well, but like that vanilla, it really makes this special. So for comparison, let's try our jet puffed marshmallow. This is closer to what I remember as a kid. I really do like the taste of marshmallow on top of this. So I don't think you're gonna go wrong making it traditional, but if you do wanna save yourself some sugar and also add that really nice vanilla flavor, I definitely recommend trying the Max Mallows. Thanks so much for making time to cook with me today. I hope you feel set up with a new, healthy, not too difficult recipe to bring to your next gathering. If you're looking for more healthy recipes, workouts, stretching techniques, and other healthy lifestyle tips, please check out the rest of my YouTube channel. And if you're looking for some one-on-one support with your nutrition and exercise programming, please reach out to me in the link in the description. And in the meantime, I look forward to continuing this journey with you, and I'll see you in the next video. It's so ridiculous. So cooking was a family experience in my house growing up, and now that my family includes this little puppy, I like to include him. So if you have someone that likes sweet potato as much as we do in our house, make sure you share it. Is that good? You want more? All right, we have to let it cool.